I had somebody ask me a question the other day about how I found my purpose. How am I standing here before you today doing what it is I'm doing? And I'm sure I've answered this question in a couple of different places, in a couple of different ways, but I thought I'm going to dedicate its own video right to this topic, and I'm going to try and keep it short. We'll see if I'm actually successful in that, because I feel like it deserves its own video, and I'm hopeful that you'll get a couple tips and tricks out of this. And please know, this looks different for everybody, no matter where you are right now. If you're feeling really dissatisfied with what your actual purpose is in life, the first piece of that puzzle, and the first thing I want to say to you, is know it's okay to feel frustrated. Frustration, without feeling that frustration, you wouldn't be called or drawn or intuitively guided to do anything about it. If you didn't feel the frustration or the dissatisfaction, you would continue to maintain the status quo over and over and over again until you aren't able to work anymore. And that's not what I want, right? And there's also this other side of the coin where people think they have to find a purpose. It's got to be something that's outside of them and external to them. And the other part of this is knowing that you can create purpose for yourself. It's not something you find or you look for outside of you. It is deep within you. So how did I find my purpose, or how did I become the therapist you see standing here before you? How did I figure this out? How did I tap into it? The first thing was knowing and feeling that frustration, because that frustration and that sense of dissatisfaction with what, not only what was going on in terms of like feeling like I was just like in the corporate grind, there was so much more to that. This kind of was deeply rooted for me in self-doubt. So there was also this element of feeling like I wanted to come out of victim mentality. There was just deep dissatisfaction with who I was holistically, not necessarily just within my career, but this was all encompassing. I was deeply dissatisfied with being in my own body, how I felt, being in victim mentality, not being able to let go of the past, feeling filled with self-doubt, but I didn't really have the terminology to be able to identify that that was going on just yet. So the first piece was feeling like something was off. The second piece of that puzzle was finding my therapist. I'm telling you, I give her a lot of credit. I really, really do, because without her, I wouldn't be standing here today. She identified immediately in our first session that I was meant to be a therapist. She could see it before I could even see it. And of course, as I've told the story many times before, I gave her 100 excuses why that was not even next to humanly possible. It was a complete and utter impossibility. And she said, okay, no problem, let's move on. But she could see it in me and she could identify that gift, but I could not see it yet, and I couldn't even tap into that potentiality or that possibility yet, because there were too many layers that were kind of holding me back from knowing that I could make that possible for myself. Part of that was self-doubt, part of it was self-esteem, a lot of it was victim mentality, holding on to the past. There was so much there that I needed to kind of tear away and strip away before I had the capacity to even know that I had it in me to make this reality a possibility, to even identify that this reality was possible, to even see the gifts that I had. Because here's the thing sometimes about strengths and gifts. And I say this to everybody, everyone has a strength, everyone has a gift, but it's hard to identify it as a gift for you because it comes easy to you. My own coach said this to me. She said, you can't see your gifts sometimes. It's hard for you to see your magic because it's in you. It's so easy. You think, and we have trained as a society, we've been trained as a society and conditioned that to think that we have to work really, really hard for everything, that everything is hard to come by. So seeing how we can use our natural gifts and strengths, it feels like it's impossible because it's too easy. Like, how can I do this? It's too easy, right? But that's the thing about gifts. It's easy to you. They're your gifts. That's what you came here with. So I had to really sort of discover those gifts for myself and ask myself those questions, like, what am I really good at? What do I have a flair for? What is it that I can really do in this world to move the world forward? So long story short, I did a lot of work in therapy. I did tons of work. I discovered all of this self-doubt. I discovered, the world of spirituality, and that really supported me in being able to tap into what my gifts were and ultimately uncover or discover really what my purpose was, which is, working as a therapist for women, right? And coming up soon, coaching women as well. That is something that is on the horizon. It is quickly approaching. It will be unveiled all in good time. But to get there, I had to break down my foundation. I had to know I could do it. It had to, I had to see myself as limitless. Because when I started therapy, I felt very limited. Like I couldn't do anything differently. That I was, that I had to keep playing society's game. And I think that was the other part of being able to kind of uncover this aspect of my purpose and do what I'm doing now, is I had to realize that I didn't have to be a part of the societal wheel. And I think that is, and when I say societal wheel, I mean like the rule book, the society rule book of life that we're given to. It's like indoctrinated into us when we're children. Okay, this is your life path. You're going to go to school. You're going to go to school from kindergarten to grade 12. From grade 12, you're then going to go get post-secondary education. And that could be 4 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. You're just going to keep going to school and keep going to school and keep going to school. And when you come out of school, then you're going to go and get your corporate job. When you get your corporate job, you're going to be happy. And if you're not happy with your corporate job, then it's probably you're missing partnership. And then when you're going to get a new partner, and with that partner, you're going to have babies, and those babies are going to give you grandchildren at one point. And that is like the society rule book of life. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm following the society rule book of life and I don't understand why I'm unhappy. Why do I feel this sense of dissatisfaction? This doesn't make sense to me. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do. And what I really had to do is throw that rule book out and understand that just because I wasn't following the typical societal path and I wasn't doing it in the way that maybe it was supposed to be done or laid out for me, just because I wasn't doing it that way, and just because I was discovering that I was dissatisfied, later in my life, didn't mean that I couldn't start over. You can teach an old dog new tricks. You can make something happen for yourself. You are not too old. And I had to strip away all that societal conditioning to be able to even have the capacity to see what was possible. But once that happened, my friends, I cracked wide open. I was journaling a lot at this time during my therapy journey. First and only time I've journaled in my whole life. And the very last journal entry in that journal is, oh my God, I'm meant to be a therapist. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm here for. That's what all my gifts are for. That is what this whole path has been. It was the very last entry in that journal. And I went to my therapist 2 days later and I was like, I don't know how to do this. And she's like, welcome to the party. Let me show you the way. And she was the one that helped me get set up. And it is because of her, who saw my gifts from the very, 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 very beginning, that I am here. Obviously, I can't give her all the credit. I have done a lot of the work myself, but it took a lot of uncovering and knowing what was possible. So if you're feeling frustrated and you're feeling dissatisfied, please don't look at it like this is the end all be all. You're meant to be frustrated for the rest of your life. Look at it as an opportunity and an invitation to dig deeper, to figure out what lights you up, what brings you joy, what excites you, what would be the thing. If there were no rules, if there was no fear, what would you do with your life? Start there. Hopefully that gives you some insight. And that was a lot of talking. Oh man. Anyways, if you have any questions for me in terms of how I got to this point and there's something I didn't answer, please feel free to reach out to me. If you're wondering about how I do some of this work with my clients, please reach out to me as well, because so often I've seen this time again with my clients, they discover their purpose during our work together, and it's the coolest thing to watch kind of unfold. But with that, I hope you are happy, healthy, and abundant, and of course, make it a great day, make it a great day, make it a great day. It's me using my bulldozer arms to uncover my purpose. Let's get to it.